So you may see advertisements for epoxies and really beautiful floors, and they talk about the actual coatings themselves. But what you don't see is actually the dark side of this industry, and that is that there are a lot of well-intended contractors, house painters that do these types of floors, and they really don't set themselves up to do a floor correctly. I'm going to show you a picture. Take a look at what I've got shown up here. There are three things I want you to look at in this picture. Number one, there's a big hole in the epoxy. I personally went out to this job site after another contractor had told the client that he doesn't provide a warranty and isn't going to be able to move forward with it. But one of the things that I noticed right off the bat with the floor is that it was not prepped correctly. The other thing that I want you to notice, and it's a slight thing in the floor, is the discoloration right in the center of that picture. That's moisture. Moisture is being drawn up from the underside of the floor. And then the third thing I want you to notice is that wherever the tire marks are, it's obvious that the tires have scorched the actual coating itself. So I think even the coating system was inadequate for what they were doing. This was a well-intended, well-known house painter that did the work. And I asked the client a very basic question that you should be asking. It should be your first question to ask anybody is, what's the warranty? If they tell you that there's no warranty, that you don't warranty floors, they have told you everything you need to know about that particular contractor, because if a concrete floor fails, who's going to fix it? Are you going to be the homeowner that's going to have to deal with the floor that you're going to have to deal with later on down the road? I'm just saying, if you can't back up the work and you can't provide a workmanship warranty, then everything that you're going to be dealing with is a failed floor that's going to cost you 3 or 4 times the cost that it initially did. We're working on a garage floor. We're going to be actually doing a floor coating on the floor itself. And as we started to get set up for this job, we wanted to put together a video for you so that you could work through 3 things. If you've ever thought about putting one of these floors up, that you could know that this floor would not fail. 3 things that are going to be real important in this video that I'll go over. To start with, I want to show you an example of what we're going to do. Let's say this represents the concrete slab that's currently on the house, and the coating is finished. On every new home build, there's typically plastic that is underneath the slab, and that plastic acts as a hydrostatic barrier. That barrier stops or blocks all moisture from coming up through the earth into the actual concrete slab itself. And so if you have a slab like this, you can actually coat it. Now, the purpose of this plastic isn't necessarily for coating, but it has to be there to be able to coat a floor. In this case, if I remove the slab, what happens is that the concrete is sitting in moisture. And if you can imagine that you're in a position where it's a heavy rain season, you're drawing moisture up under the concrete. And this can actually force what's the most common failure is where the coatings will actually pop off just because there's the presence of moisture in the slab. Now, you're probably watching this video and you're thinking to yourself, I don't have a new home, so I don't exactly know if my floor has this piece of plastic liner underneath it. Let's walk into the garage. I want to show you what we're going to do to test for that. This is a moisture test that I'm doing, and what I've done is I put heavy plastic down and I've duct taped all the edges so this is airtight. What this will do is that if there is no plastic liner underneath the concrete when the house was built, this will force draw moisture up onto it. And if I go to peel the slab off and I have discoloration from this concrete to the next, and if I have a discoloration here, that tells me I can draw moisture. If I can draw moisture, we're not going to coat a floor. There are other options out there for you, but I can tell you it's not a matter of if the floor is going to peel and fail because of moisture, the presence of moisture, but when. And so that's something that you really have to be concerned about. All right, so let's move over to our equipment. So when it comes to prepping a floor, you've probably seen images of these diamond grinders that profile the floor, and that's critical. So you might see over here that this area needs to be smoothed down. Smoothing down is it's a secondary result. Our first objective with the grinder is that these diamond blades are actually going to remove the smooth trowel finish of this floor, and they're going to open up the concrete. We want to create a situation where the underlying just about 32nd of an inch to 1/8 of an inch is ground down and exposed. And what that does is it has the concrete it's a sponge-like effect, so that when we apply the first coat of epoxy on this floor, it's going to seep down into the surface and the epoxy will grab down And that gives me absolute adhesion onto that floor that I know that it's not going to lift off. So as you can see, as we progress into this video, we're not going to cut any corners. When John, the owner of Stevens Painting, got into floor coatings, one of the things that John wanted to make sure is that we would not cut or deal with the cost of cutting corners. And as you can see, there's easy ways to not do certain things in these applications. This is a must for us. So if you happen to have somebody that's bidding your job and they're like, oh, hey, I can just come in and mop down the floor, and they're not doing this, you're putting yourself in a very vulnerable situation. Also, if you happen to be that price shopper that's negotiating everybody's price down and you're cutting out this piece, again, you're going to be running into a situation where you potentially have a floor failure taking place. I can't reiterate this enough. This is such a critical thing that if we have a client that says, I just want you to put a floor down, we're going to respectfully decline the job. Okay, so let's review so that you will get a successful floor. Number one, you want to insure your job. You want to make sure that you have a workmanship warranty. That's number one. Number two, you want to make sure that the slab has been tested and you know that there's no possibility for moisture to come up through the earth and cause coating to fail. And number three, the other step you want to ask for is you want to make sure that the floor is correctly ground before they apply the coating. Thanks for watching.